Yo, welcome back to the Shuffle Circle. Bridget here, or Briggity on Instagram. If you're just beginning to think about how to incorporate your upper body into your shuffle, I have a few tips and tricks on certain movements that you can incorporate into your running man, your T-step, and also a few movements that will help you build momentum as you go into things like spins. Now, all of the movements I'm going to show you are purely based off of what I like to do in my shuffles or what I like to see, because I am very much so a Melbourne-inspired shuffler. These movements may mimic what you see in a Melbourne-style shuffle. When I think about incorporating my arms, I don't want my arms to be detached from the rest of my core. I want it to move in a really fluid, flowy way, whether those movements are angular or they're fluid and smooth. I still want my chest and my shoulders to play along with that movement. So I'm gonna start y'all off working your chest in there, working your shoulders in there in my running man as I come down, and I'm coming down with my right leg, so that we're starting here in UTP. We are going to come down with our right leg extending in front of us. As we do that, we will throw our left shoulder in towards our right knee, and our right shoulder will come back, and our bodies will form almost a straight line. So that we're really twisting our torso across our legs. Now, notice how when I push my shoulder forwards, my arm comes forwards too, almost in this punching motion into the ground. Now, that can be useful if you want to start to flow into other movements with your arms, because you are initiating that movement, that steady flow of energy. And you can take that from this constant back and forth with the baseline into something that's a little bit more smooth. Maybe you want to flow on a melody. Rather than coming down, you may want to ride a wave. You may want to take that bigger. Either way, all these movements really originate from your chest and your shoulders, rolling and tucking. So I want to focus on that movement in our running man for really the majority of all upper body flow. Now, when you start to incorporate things that are maybe a little bit more power-based, start to think angles. So when we're thinking about a T-step, for example, if I want to accentuate what my feet are doing on the ground, I'm going to try to mimic that with my arms and my hands. So in this case, if I come down into a T-step, I might point using my fingertips and my arms extended in a straight line to really bring my audience's gaze down to my feet. Now, you can do that with two arms, or you could isolate maybe with one arm and bring the other arm up. So in this case, we start to play with angles. And this is really fun because not only does it accentuate what's happening on the ground, but you're also bringing a full new shape into your dance. Your body is now creating its own shape, which is really beautiful. If we want to take that angular motion one step further, we might incorporate that into a kick. Again, it's the same T-step motion on one foot. All you're doing is bringing your leg up off the ground rather than coming down, toe touching. So in this case, a little bit of balance is required, but if you can use your body to lean over in the opposite direction as you're kicking, you'll notice that my body moves as a counterweight. So, knowing that, we can incorporate things like kicks and angles that complement each other and really make our shuffle a lot more powerful. So a few other hand gestures I like to incorporate with T-steps include these super like traditional Melbourne rocking type of movements. I'll break down a couple of those. The first one being this almost like you're cranking a handle. Now I really want to focus on the fact that we're not just flailing our arms so that we look like we're trying to take off. We are controlled. This is a subtle movement. You are, again, bringing your chest and shoulders into this movement so that in action, as my elbow comes in, my chest comes out, so that they move together. Now, bringing in our T-steps, it might look a little something like this. We might go here, switch. That is how you make that super clean. Keep it close to your body, don't be out here. And you can really have fun with it. It doesn't have to be super stiff. You can maybe do some fist rolls, whatever it is your heart desires. Some other movements that you can incorporate, you may have seen one as I was jumping into more of like a running man or something like a back step, so a back T-step. Notice how I use my arms to come back and really mimic that downwards movement. Or you might see something a little bit more subtle where you have these little circles or little skirts, I don't even know. You can come around in a circle, you can come out, really kind of pop in your chest as you do so. We have these guys. As we're crossing over into our T-steps, you can use your arms to accentuate that movement, cross those over as well. Let's touch on those bigger momentum-based movements that we will use in order to put a little bit more power and energy into our shuffle. Now, I want to walk us through a little exercise first. Cross your legs over, really squeeze your thighs together. Now, try to unwind without using your upper body. Without using your hands, I want you to make a full 360-degree turn around to face me again. All right, so that wasn't too hard, but it wasn't necessarily very easy either. A lot of squeezing, a lot of control with our lower half in order to really move our body. Now, I want us to do the same thing, crossing our legs over, squeezing our thighs together. This time, arms up, really pulling this imaginary air from behind us. There's some sort of maybe a rope back here, you're pulling it. Everything's contracted, you're really twisted. Maybe you're even looking back at your arms. Now I want you to initiate this spin by pulling your arms around you while engaging your legs. So we go on 3, 1, 2, 3. Notice how I, and you probably also, made it all the way around with much less effort in your legs. A lot of that turning was brought to you by your arms moving around your body. So, using that idea, I want to incorporate some of those big movements into things like spins. So that was one of them. You can start out as you come in. Again, you're pulling in your arms as you come around. You can either lasso them up, you can pull yourself around and finish strong. Other movements, you can start out and you can pull in and make something really pretty up here. As you pull inwards in a spin, you can pull your arms in closer to you so that your center of gravity is a lot closer to your body, and therefore you are more compact and you will start to spin faster. There's less friction in the air to stop you. So how does that work? Let's just say we got our little shuffle on, we're about to do a little spin, and we go around. So in that case, I started out wide, I jumped up and pulled my arms inwards. As I'm pulling my arms inwards, in this case, or in this spin in particular, I do come up on my heels. Again, there's less foot surface touching the ground, therefore less friction, less of the floor is touching your shoes. so you can spin faster and you won't slow down. I really like to think of my arms as if there were two weights that I'm holding on to. And so I can really swing my arms and my weight around a lot easier if I focus that movement from my hands. Another way I like to incorporate my arms is in this kind of windmill type fashion, really imagining that there are two weights, one in each hand, that are pulling me in opposite directions. As I come down with one arm, the opposite will come up and my body will turn. And then I'll come right back to where I was. So really you're doing one full windmill kind of a turn. You can use that with your running man in a walking spin type of a fashion. So your walking spin looks like this, around. We can do that same motion with our arms coming around. Thinking about movements that we can incorporate into our shuffle in order to make both our running man and our T-step look a little bit more powerful. I have one in mind, specifically when you're rocking and you're transitioning between that T-step pattern into your running man. At this point, sometimes you want to make this movement a little bit big before you then flip your rock onto the next foot. So you'll notice in my case, I have my T's and then my running man comes out really wide and strong and big. I will just simply put my arms out, push my chest forward, really take up space there, and then come right back into my T-steps. So that's another way that you can incorporate more power without having to spin or kick. I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you want to find out more about the Shuffle Circle, go on and head over to theshufflecircle.com or follow us on the Shuffle Circle on Instagram.